The HR committee is called to order at 9:04 p.m.
Okay, I move to go to executive session.
I second.
Okay,
So
everyone
with all
good? We're
due
gonna,
respect- with all due respect to everybody, why are we in executive session? Maybe, what did I miss?
Oh, I think because we're just discussing the interview process. So I think because of HR, I mean, I would think it would just be part of executive session. Most of our HR things that have had to do with process have been an executive session.
I know, I agree that candidate discussions have been in executive session. The process piece,
Yeah, what am I looking at?
I don't have a problem with
Executive
not
session
going.
meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for the purpose of approval of the body of blah, blah, blah. To discuss appointment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employee of the public body. So I think we thought we might, if we're discussing applicants and bringing into the discussion Katie, I think it's appropriate. But if we're doing questions, et cetera, for another meeting, I don't know why we're in executive session.
I would agree with you, Kathy.
Do we want to talk briefly about the candidates as far as okay, we can go to
Wait, Jenny, that if we're talking about candidates, those are the appointments of specific employees. That definitely is executive session.
well, it kind of is it's a little bit of both. I mean, can we talk about can we use their names when we're talking about some of the specifics as far as the day of the interviews?
In executive session, yes. You
Okay.
can't do that in an open meeting.
Okay, then maybe we can talk briefly about who our candidates are. I hadn't planned for a discussion of like candidate attributes tonight, but I do want to get an idea of like how we're going to structure things and who our three candidates are and contacting the references and stuff like that and how we're going to split that up.
Okay, then I think if we are going to use the candidates' names, perhaps we should
We
move
should.
into
I would-
executive
Okay,
session.
for that first part. Okay.
Okay, you hold on a second. I'm going to
Okay.
stop recording at 9:07.
Okay. So Kathy, can I ask you something in regards to benefits then? Is that something we present to them after the second interview when we say that we're interested in bringing them back? Or they might have questions in the oh, you're just going to ask Bettina and she's going to tell you how they usually
Yeah,
do
I
it.
mean, I would think, and Bonnie, it's been a long time since I've been interviewed for a job. I would think it's fair to say that our benefit package includes life, our IMRF, which only Katie would be familiar with because she works in Illinois. So that's important. The brief menu of benefits available. And then when we make a hire, we would explain that we would refer the individual to Bettina for details on the coverage. And even with an offer, if they wanted to address coverages with her, I mean, that's the most specific information they will get. So does that sound all right, guys? Or do we?
That sounds perfect.
Just so that we know it's a choice between HMO, PPO, but is there also dental and
Yes, yeah,
and
everything.
vision insurance involved?
Yep.
And how much family gets?
Janie, I don't know.
You
It's all
don't know what the
there.
percentage
it's-
is for
it's a
family
packet
coverage? Because
that
I'm pretty sure it's 100% for the employee.
Yeah,
but-
I don't know. And
Okay.
this week I just didn't dig into that.
Okay, and is there any life insurance involved? I know
Yes.
there's IMRF.
Yes. Yeah, there's all the coverage that you would expect to get. I don't
Okay,
have it
good.
handy. It's upstairs. Otherwise I would read it
No,
out to you.
no, I
can
was
send
just
you a
curious.
brief. Yeah, I mean, it's everything you would look for.
Yeah.
I checked out the health in particular because there's a high deductible premium and there's a low deductible premium, which
Uh-huh.
some people choose one or the other.
Right.
It looks quite thorough to me. I just, in terms of, well, I have a background in insurance, so I can sit down and go through these things and know if I'm insured or not. But most people go to the benefit manager, who apparently is Bettina. So we would want to direct potential employees, I think, in that direction. But I think what I can easily do is put together a menu of the benefits so that we could address those in interviews. This is what we have available. I would recommend that I have no idea if Michigan and Minnesota have pension for library employees. So IMRF, the concept may be brand new, or it might be very, actually, Renee worked in Illinois, so she probably knows about it anyway.
Yeah, and Kathy, Michigan does in their posting to backfill the candidate from Michigan, it does state that there is a Michigan municipal blah, blah, blah retiree plan. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would suggest to our potential, if for example, let's use Eric as an example, that may turn over into Illinois, or it may stay as a separate plan, and then he begins anew in Illinois. So that's something he would want to investigate. So let me find out more from Bettina in terms of the information process, and I will prepare just a menu of the available benefits.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'm sorry, you guys, I'm just like, ugh.
It's exhausting.
Running on
Yeah.
fumes.
Jenny, one more thing,
Did a
maybe
great
ask Drew if he has that example of an offer letter
Okay,
to try to get ahead of our asks for the village.
okay.
That's a great idea, Bonnie. Thank you.
Yes, and yeah. Yeah. Well, Kathy, I thought you did a really great job tonight. So I'm
Yes.
sure you're really tired. I thought
It's just, it's it's an emotional situation.
It
I
is.
feel for these people as a parent. God, would
yes.
take
I
somebody
thought you-
somewhere and then it all backfires. So
Yeah.
I don't blame her for being furious.
Okay, so the other things I wanted to talk about was to kind of get an idea of like when we're going to start the schedule of the day. And this ties in with how we're going to provide a stipend. So Bonnie, I know you've worked on this stuff before. Like, do we have a limit? Do we say like, we're going to provide lodging for 2 nights? How does this usually work?
Okay, so in the world of a library, I don't know. In my world, it would be expected that there would just be 1 night hotel stay. Everything from the moment the candidate walked out of the door till the time the candidate walked back into their own door of their home, everything would have been paid for. Even like bottle of water at the airport or a magazine. So, you know, that's been my experience with the short time frame that people have to book a flight.
Yeah.
Flights might be a little expensive.
be
We can
pricey.
recommend that
Gonna be
they stay at one of 3 locations. Like I wouldn't say, please stay at the Deer Path Inn,
Right.
Little Deer, right?
I was actually thinking of Residence Inn in Mattawa. I could call them and find out. We stayed, it was a while ago, but we stayed there when we were in between homes once, and they were extremely agreeable to
Yeah.
pricing, and it's a very nice breakfast that's available.
Yeah, that Hilton Garden Inn right next to it is also very
Yeah.
convenient and a fairly new build. The Forester might be fairly reasonable.
Oh,
It's a
I forgot
Hyatt
about that,
property
yeah.
Yeah,
and
But
it's
then do they-
newer.
Like for one of them, would they have to rent a car?
I was thinking that too.
Or they
they-
could take taxis or Ubers.
Yeah, Uber is pretty available here.
Well, they could take ground transportation. Yes, my husband, actually, we've got a friend who drives people to and from the airport. What is it? It's something Lake Forest Taxi, maybe. They're very good with reservations, but we could, so that's an option. And we have to weigh that against the cost of a rental car. So you do that twice versus a car for 24 hours. And from the hotel to us, we could pick up and deliver ourselves, which would be kind of a cordial thing to do, or we could, I mean, we could just sum to Uber, which God knows what that would cost.
I like that idea, Kathy, that we, and again, sometimes companies do this, they'll deploy an employee to pick you up at the hotel and bring you to the office for the interview. I really like that idea. I'd be
So
willing to do
will
it.
the two outside people be in the building at the same time? I mean, it'd be easier to do that if one of us weren't out picking somebody up when another.
Well, it doesn't have to be
individual-
one of us. I was thinking staff wants to be so involved, maybe they would consider.
That's not a bad idea.
Or if we, it depends what Martha's got up her sleeve, but if, for instance, if she would do her gig at 4 o'clock, we could deliver someone. That person is being toured, and then we go and get the other one and then bring them at the time that number one goes into interview. So you follow me? We're kind of jockeying them. Maybe I can twist my husband's arm to drive them. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, just a thought. And that way, all they would have is the ground transportation to and from the airport, which we can predict and know what we're. I'd forgotten about the forester. That's right out of Conway Park. Is that right?
Yes.
Right, yeah. And if I were to try to guess, I would guess we're gonna be spending $1,000 on each candidate coming in for their expenses, roughly.
And do you think, Bonnie, do you think they're going to need one night or 2 nights?
I think just one night. I think we tell them, your interviews will start at, let's just say, I don't know, someone will meet you at 3 o'clock. And again, this is just, so they should plan to arrive by, say, 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. that day.
Okay.
Don't take the last flight that's going to get you in.
Right.
And
Neither one of them had more than probably an hour and a half.
Okay, so plan to arrive, you said at 10 o'clock, because I just want to make sure we let them know, because so they can make their plans as soon as possible. So you're thinking we'll start interviews at 3 o'clock?
I just threw that out there. I don't know. Are all of us available at 3?
Well, again, let's talk to Martha and structure this. I still don't quite understand what she's got planned.
Yes.
I mean, she was talking about 90 minutes. I asked her to get that down to 1 hour. So staff, somebody goes into an interview while we're interviewing, second person is entertained by staff. And then interview number 1 is over, can go back. Interview number 2 is then going to trustees.
Okay. So like for myself that day, I have parent teacher conferences that start at, I think I have to be at parent teacher conferences at 5. So I didn't know if we're going to have certain trustees, because Bonnie, I liked your idea about that. I think if there's just a few people that are meeting with them to interview, you can really drill down. I think you had some good questions for some of the candidates. And I am I didn't know if maybe we could just do an interview and then somewhat of a reception afterwards, where it can be more casual and it can be brief, where they just can meet other people. Or
are you thinking, I thought we were using more of the reception format for the staff meet and greet, like the tour, the staff meet and greet, and maybe the department heads. That's what I've been thinking is the hour that Martha is yet to design.
Yes.
Okay. And that would be maybe 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20-minute tour, 20-minute meet and greet, 20-minute
20-minute meet and greet.
department head discussion. But again, it's their time to design. I just want to understand what's in bounds for the trustees and what's out of bounds for the trustees.
Yeah. Well, because we have Bill hasn't even, wasn't at the one interview. So I feel like Bill and John and then Matt haven't met them at all. So I'm fine. I'm happy to go in and out of whatever we're doing, but I don't feel like I need to sit in on an interview. I feel like we're not all going to be able to be at the next interview, right? I'm just guessing. I'm throwing it out there.
We could also set up, since we have the spruce through, we could set up a hybrid availability so that someone is being interviewed, but if John or Matt or Bill, and Bill's not on the road a lot. He's not going to be at a 3 or 4 o'clock meeting at all.
Mhm.
They could phone in, they could at least observe in a capacity.
Mhm.
But I just came up with something. So let's say at 4 o'clock, I'm talking about, we have person number 1 and person number 2.
Mhm.
4 o'clock, person number 1 meets with the staff for an hour.
Okay.
And at 5 o'clock, number 1 is interviewed. Meanwhile, at 5 o'clock, person number 2 meets with the staff.
Uh-huh.
And at 6 o'clock, person number 2 meets with, or is interviewed.
Okay, interviewed by the trustees. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay.
So in a, I mean, we probably have to put 15-minute breaks and that kind of, but that way the staff would be engaged for 2 hours, let's say 2.5 with breaks, and some kind of a recap. And the same with the interview team. And then there'd have to be a recap. Anyway, I don't know.
Wait, can you say that again? So person number 1, like if you said it started at 4.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking, okay, so let's start this. So let's, at 4 o'clock, staff number 1.
Uh-huh.
And then let's say 5:15 is interview number 1.
Okay. Uh-huh. Interview number 1. Okay.
Yeah, which means at 5:15,
Uh-huh.
there's staff number 2.
Okay, 5:15, staff number 2. Okay.
And then at 6:30, there's interview number 2.
Okay. Interview number 2. Okay.
And then are we talking about interview number 3 for
Oh,
the
geez.
candidate that maybe,
I'm
Does it
sorry, I'm
work-
thinking of the 2 travelers. You're right. I'm sorry.
no,
And
that's
I
okay.
thought the idea was that we were gonna do Katie. Yeah, we could do that same day, but we could do her anytime
Yeah,
because she's already there.
and
Right,
it's a totally
that's-
different structure.
We need
I
some
just-
structure, absolutely, but that I think we
Excuse me.
need to get the other 2 nailed down, and then we can kind of figure out what we're gonna do. Katie,
Okay. I had told her in the email that October 26th was the date. So if you think we'll probably move her, just let me know because I can email her and let her know we might adjust her date.
Well,
But-
we could talk to Martha and see, does Martha intend to do the same staff program with Katie as with the other 2 candidates?
I think that's only fair.
So-
Yes. And I,
Okay, I
and-
mean, I just wonder if they want to handle it differently, or they're not meeting, they're not introducing themselves, they're not saying this is my job. It's a totally different situation.
Yeah.
So how does she want to handle it and what's her time frame?
Yeah.
Why not do it on a different day? I mean, it's totally different.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Kathy, I'm sorry, I'm being so slow here, but you said candidate 1 would be 4 PM at the staff and 5:15 interview with
Trustees.
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 Right.
What about, what's the timeline for candidate 2 again then?
And at 5:15 would be staff for number 2. And 6:30 would be interview trustee number 2.
Gotcha. Okay,
that's why I'm hoping to, as far as we're talking about the other interview that would take place, I would love to make sure that, we have some kind of formal feedback that we're getting in order to make sure that we're getting the same thing for all of the people that
Yeah.
we're interviewing from the, I think so that I just would I think Janie, maybe you made the point that, so we have something from the staff that's formal for everyone that can be reviewed.
yeah. And by the way, as far as rooms are concerned, we do have permission to use the museum space.
Oh, that's,
Oh,
that
all right.
day.
Okay.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
And Bonnie, I was wondering too, if, and the committee, I was wondering if we might be able to ask the other trustees if they have, if they're not planning to attend the interview, if there are questions that they had from the interviews, and if they would be able to send them so we can kind of put together. I think, Bonnie, your feedback was good, that our candidates have different strengths. And so there are different questions that we want to be addressing with them. So I'd like to know from the other trustees that might not be able to attend the interview. I'd like to get their feedback and find out what questions they had so we could put them together for the candidates. Actually, because there were not a lot of trustees in the first interview we did either. So most people didn't
True.
see that.
Right.
Yeah, it
right.
was the three of us. Well, yeah, Kathy, you kind of came in at the tail end of the first one, didn't you?
right.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm also looking at this schedule, wondering if an hour is enough time. We barely got through everything in an hour. For example, I would like to ask, I have 3 questions already that I know I want to ask, which are going to be, they both have a lot to say.
Yeah.
So,
I think the length of the interview also could be impacted by how many trustees are present on the evening of the 26th. And another thing I'd like to throw out, because literally I was up at night thinking about this.
know the
After our
feeling.
first round of interviews,
think
I'm
we
like,
all
you know, what's that, Janie?
I said, I know the feeling, and I think we all do. It's
Yeah. I'm just thinking, you know, this is a really big decision. And
it is.
unlike 10 years ago, when there was however many years of history and our Eric Bailey was chosen I just feel like, you know, it's a big decision, and a bad hire is really, really difficult to undo.
That's
really
right.
so difficult to undo. And that's
right. And I think
therefore,
we're in an unusual situation. I mean, I think that most of the time when something like this comes up, there is an HR department that takes over. And so we're being asked, you know, we're being tasked with something that is just barely in our wheelhouse. Maybe we've got a toe in the wheelhouse is what I'm
Yeah.
saying, you know, and
so
thank God.
I feel like the more touch points we can have with our candidates leading up to the decision, particularly the 2 who would be traveling in,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the better. And I was going to say, you know, would it be possible to, you know, have a couple of us meet one of the candidates for lunch? Would it be possible for some of us to meet another candidate for like a late afternoon extended coffee?
well, somebody should, it won't take long, but somebody needs to give them a little tour of the town. That's a nice touch. And it's a lovely village that we live in. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, it can be part of a, you know, however we're handling transportation and so forth, but even, I mean, lunch is, I would say lunch of love. I mean, keep it in the village.
Yeah.
Make it
Yeah.
just, or it occurred to me, because we're going through dinner hours, have box lunches available and ask them ahead of time, you know, what they would prefer. Just Lake Bluff has its own kind of touch. And I think if we can create that touch for the candidates, that's useful.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of us could maybe, again, maybe it's just a simple lunch at Bluffington's, or 2 people take one of the candidates to Innovasi, 2 people take another candidate over to Mavery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, actually, I'm just blocking out that whole day for a library.
Yeah.
So
the problem with that is that if they're taking a flight in, they're not going to be here for lunchtime. That could be difficult.
that's right. We can put this together once we get information from them.
Yeah.
Yes, well, and some of them, if they're, you know, we could also ask them to have that day available, the 26th, but then also to be available for like a breakfast or lunch before they leave too, so that you are following, so that you could fit it, if you can't fit it in that day with the interviews. But I like the idea of a tour because you could kind of do a tour of the town, on your way to the library and stuff like that. And I think you could fit that in that day. But then the next day you could have, I'm sorry, I'll be working, but you could have like a coffee or a lunch, with them again, so that like, because I liked how Bonnie said, we can have a number of touch points with these people because we're sponsoring their trip here. So we really can expect more from them than just a little bit of their time. I mean, that's what I would think.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
And so maybe what we should do is take some of these ideas and kind of draft up what we would see our itinerary to be. And when I email the candidates, we would ask them to be available for interviews starting after like 2:00 on either 1:00 or 2:00 on October 26th, and then to block off the morning of the 27th for a follow-up. If we have trustees.
Or earlier on the 26th or whatever. Yeah, to block off some time. I don't know if you want to be specific and say that next morning, but just to block off some time outside of the time where we're going to be having formal interviews in the library building for depending on their schedule, lunch, dinner, breakfast the next morning,
Yes.
coffee, whatever.
So maybe we'd ask that they are available to like 12:00 on the 27th or something like that. That they're available after 1:00 on the 26th and until 12:00 on the 27th. Would that be enough time?
Yeah, they're gonna have to look into flights.
Right.
Because they're
And
coming
he-
from-
If
don't quite
I
know
would
where
say
they're
if
coming from.
possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
travel being what it is today, it might be tricky.
Yes.
Right.
And
Right.
some of them, one of them might be able to do it. He might have more flexibility if he's driving. Well, and then we could just see what hers is like, and we
Yeah,
could kind of
he's got a
build it.
sister in Libertyville. She's got parents in Willow something or other. So,
Yeah.
Glen Ellen, I think she said maybe.
I think she's somewhere.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but I think.
Yeah, so they may piggyback one thing or another.
So maybe I just would say like tentatively, and please let us know what your availability would be.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, great. Because then that gives them a time frame of like what we're thinking, and then they can tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then sorry, what in regards to, so then we would just ask them to provide the receipts for, and then we would ask them to make their travel plans, but then we're going to provide them with a list of places that they could stay, approved places that they could stay. Okay.
Well, yeah, before you do, let me actually do a little investigating, because I'm gonna call this residence in. because
Okay.
I know they serve breakfast, and if maybe that could be to our advantage. Could we, of course, we can't have two people having breakfast with trustees at the same time. I guess that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, that would be
Yeah.
not classy.
But if one of them lands at the Hilton Garden Inn, there is a restaurant there that serves breakfast. If
Oh,
one
is there?
is
Okay.
at the Marriott Residence Inn and they don't have breakfast, they could have breakfast at Bluffington's.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, well then maybe I'll just start with just our times that we're thinking and see what works for them. And then should I tell Katie, that we're gonna pick a different day for her? Yes,
Tell her it's possible we might be doing that.
okay, okay, and
I like that. I like that. It's possible. Mhm.
okay, it's possible, okay. Okay, so I
Also
think we
possible
have a
she might
direct,
not want to be in the building on the 26th. I don't know,
right,
Oh,
especially in the afternoon.
I think
Yeah.
she makes the schedule, so she can, or she could work. Well, yeah, she can figure it out.
okay, okay.
Let's say. Oh, any feedback on the hybrid idea that we could have trustees observing the interview? You know, I for one would like to view the interviews, rather than just have one or two trustees doing that. So I don't know. I just wonder, I don't want to.
I think we could have people dialed in. I wouldn't mess with video.
No, I'm not, you know, just hearing, just listen, you know.
Yeah, I think that can be fairly unobtrusive. Do we have like Polycom speakerphones?
I don't know. I sat in on a book club meeting once. I think I know it's doable at the library. It wasn't comfortable for discussion, but if we just say to trustees, if you're not available for the day and you can dial into this and listen to the interview, you're welcome to do so. You know, if there's an opportunity for them to actually introduce themselves, but that they would just simply be observing if they wish to do that. I would like to offer that opportunity.
I think that would work.
When we had
Jenny?
the first meeting with, when we had some of our in-person meetings with Eric, they had that nice microphone that seemed to work well.
Yeah.
The one that like sat in the middle of the table. It looked like one of those like old time ones. I feel like that worked for people that were, so you could do it in a way that at least you'd get the audio.
Yeah.
I think they have the equipment for it.
I'm pretty sure we do.
Can we find out who at the library is most familiar and comfortable with that equipment and make sure they're on?
Yeah, it would
Mhm.
be Anna. It would be Anna.
The last thing I wanted to ask was, who do you think, and Kathy, I don't know, I feel like you have a lot on your plate, but who, but I know that you've already talked to Martha. I want to just see if one of us should be assigned to working with the staff to see what they're, and communicating with them what our plans are and what their plans would be. So that we're all.
I
in sync.
apologize if I missed an email. Did Martha send us a game plan?
She hasn't sent us,
Okay.
and the only thing she sent us were those dates. And
Okay,
I
then
think
let me follow, Jenny, let me follow up with her because I was the one who asked her to get working on that.
okay,
So let me follow up with Martha
okay,
on what she has in mind and a time frame, and
Great.
just kind of get that conversation going.
okay, perfect.
Is an hour a good time for all of you? For them, is an hour time frame a good idea for the staff from our point of view? Because she had originally said 90 minutes.
I mean, I kind of think if they want 90 minutes, if that's, I mean, if it's, I don't, as long as there's a plan to use that 90 minutes. I mean, I feel like their feedback is really important. So if that's what they feel they need, then we should follow their lead as long as it's planned out as far as how it's going to go.
My thought would be 90 minutes if it includes a tour.
Oh,
And
yeah.
having just recently toured a couple other libraries, it takes longer than you think, and you
Yeah.
have questions as you go around and stuff. So I think 90 minutes if it includes the tour time. If it doesn't include the tour time, I honestly think an hour is probably sufficient.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would want that time frame, whether it's 90 or 60 minutes, to include, well, somehow or other, that group has to then, give feedback on the candidate.
Yes.
But we can, I mean, I agree with you, Bonnie. 90 minutes of just going from one small group to another and saying, what do you do and this and that. But the tour does. I mean, the tour can be fun. I mean, it can lead to interesting discussions and questions.
Yes.
That's much more than even just a lot of conversation. So,
Yes. And it's a great place to talk about some of these things like technology and
Yeah.
as part of the tour.
Yeah.
And to have those questions prepared.
Do we want to suggest who should be leading the tours? Are there certain people we think would really help our library shine?
I think we leave that to the staff. I think I know who's going to be doing it, but I don't think we should. I think they want to put this together and do it their way. That's important.
Mhm.
I would be surprised if they chose anyone who wasn't really. They may shuffle around a little bit, which is a good idea too.
Mhm.
Okay, do they know October 26th though, for sure? They know that that's the date we've.
Oh, well,
landed?
we told Katie, but I don't know. I mean, I didn't send anything formal to Martha or
I thought
anything.
Martha gave us the date. I don't even know how all this happened.
I think she gave us like a series of dates.
Yeah.
But I did say it on the meeting tonight, that October 26th was the date and we wanted staff. So,
Jenny, I'm thinking of you. If you have parent conferences, would you prefer this is another night?
no, this is fine. This is
Alright.
fine. I mean, I think my parent teacher conferences are going to be from like 5 to 6. So it's fine. I'll just come. I will just come. I mean, my mom's going to come after school and stuff. So I'll just come when I can and then plug in where I felt like I got a good feel from the candidates. And I feel like as long as we have some kind of form that people are sharing, I think we'll get a lot from what people, and I'm very interested to see what the staff think. And so I think, but maybe I could just draft up this schedule, Kathy, so when you meet with Martha, then you could talk to her, you could run it by her, what we're thinking.
Sure, and let's make that flexible because her input may change it. But
Yes.
our goal is to do 2 candidates in one evening.
Okay. Great.
But
Right,
wait
so
a
that-
second. Wait. If we're thinking we have to do this on 2 different occasions, and we want to be meeting people and having lunch and driving them and doing this and doing that, why don't we just do 1 transportation candidate and Katie one day?
It's fun. Kathy, I was just going to say, maybe we should also do, you know how we did Katie first on the,
Yeah.
And we kind of learned a little bit from that. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, maybe we should interview our internal candidate first.
I think that's a great idea.
All right, let's just turn this around and see if we can quickly figure. So I'm just off the top of my head. So let's say we meet with Katie at 4 and we interview her, just whoever is doing the interviewing. Then she works with staff. Meanwhile, one of us is assigned to drive and pick up our candidate at their hotel. Meet and greet, how are you? Come back to Lake Bluff, kind of show them the lay of the land. And then they arrive for, let's say we start with Katie at 4 for a 6 o'clock.
I think
Yeah,
that's going to
because
get
if we
too
interview
late, Kathy.
What?
Honestly, I think that's going to get too late.
Well, it doesn't matter about the time. I'm just
Okay.
plugging in minutes.
Yeah.
If we did Katie first, then she goes to staff. So someone could pick up the interviewee to arrive for an interview when staff has taken over Katie. So Katie will then have completed the process of interview plus staff. So now the trustees are interviewing traveling candidate number 1, followed up by staff. So we don't have people, and then they go back to their hotel. We can meet them for coffee or whatever. We don't have people bumping into each other. And then the second candidate comes the next night, something like, then if that's possible. I don't know.
Knowing that we've already sent the October 26th date to
Oh, we did,
both
okay.
traveling candidates,
Yeah, okay,
it may be hard to,
sure. I mean, they may make, yeah, that's right.
they may have already cleared their calendars for that.
Could we consider doing Katie on the 24th or 25th?
I don't see why not. I see Jenny shaking her head.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Yes, shaking her head, yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that earlier, Jenny. I was,
Hi.
we're all a little tired and I was like, oh,
Sorry about what?
Yeah.
earlier when I started shaking my head before you had finished your
Oh,
comment.
no, that's okay. Oh, no. Oh my gosh. No, it was such a touchy subject. No, not at all. No, because I know how upset our patron was about the email. So no, I mean, I thought it was good to keep that in mind. That email is always a tricky form of communication,
Yes.
very challenging. So, okay, I feel like everybody's getting really tired. So maybe I could summarize and wrap up.
And I have an offer to make as well.
Oh, good.
I am willing to take a stab at putting together a schedule
Oh,
for all 3 candidates for the same day.
Bonnie, you're amazing. Best news ever.
I'm gonna tune in for it, yeah. I cannot do anything on the 25th
Okay.
past 4 PM, just FYI.
So if we interview Katie, is everyone okay to interview her prior to 4 PM or no, Jenny, you wouldn't be able to do that?
The 25th, what day is it? 25th?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. The 25th is tough for me, but I really do feel like I sat in on the other interview. If I would really love it if John or Bill or any of the people that have not met her, did not get to sit in on the interview were there, that would be fabulous. And then I will just, but I will try to get a babysitter and stuff like that.
I wasn't, okay, so I didn't attend Katie's first interview. I would not want to not attend the second one. I wouldn't want her to feel that I was just dismissing her.
Yeah.
So, but the 24th, 27th would be fine. Or earlier in the day, but it would be difficult to get any of our trustees
Yeah.
who are difficult to get hold of.
Right. But
John, I
right now,
know-
Kathy, sorry.
I know John isn't, actually, John, Bill, they're all committed during the day. I don't think they do.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
You're
we
good
could,
the evening of the 24th and the 27th.
Yeah.
For Katie. Jenny, you said you probably couldn't do the 24th, or you could?
that's a Monday, right? You said Monday. Yeah, no, Mondays are better for me. Yeah,
Okay.
but maybe we could reach out to the trustee, John and Matt, and
Yep.
to see what they're available. Oh, you were gonna do that. Okay, perfect.
Or Jenny, do you want to check on availability of the rest of the trustees for both the 26th?
Uh-huh. Okay, sure, yeah.
The 26th, how early can they be available on the 26th? And are they also available the evening of the 24th or 27th? This way, our trustee communication is all from you, from the HR committee. And I'll
Okay,
just do a schedule for the 4 of us.
Okay,
a
so the
tentative draft schedule.
okay, so you said the 24th and the 25th availability.
27th, actually. We're gonna not do the 25th because you're not available and Kathy's not available.
Okay,
and
sorry.
So it'd be
Yeah.
the 24th, 26th, 27th.
Email trustees.
Thank you, Janie. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let me make sure I have my dates right. So the 24th, the 26th, and the 27th, their availability.
And the
How early in
26th
the
is pretty
evening?
much already set because we've already talked to our 2 external candidates.
Yeah.
Right,
We're on the 26th, so the other days in question are for Katie.
okay, or for Katie. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, and then I am, okay. So, and then we've split up our contacting of references, so we're all set with that. Kathy, you're gonna coordinate with Martha, and I'm gonna contact Drew about the background check and drug screening, just to see what's the process for the village, as well as a sample offer letter. And then, yes, and then as far as transportation, oh, and then Kathy, you were also going to follow up with the places to stay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll just get prices and see if they're willing to give us a price break for, because we're the local library kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, not for profit, or right? We could
Right,
say
right.
not for profit, right?
And then we're just gonna ask the candidates to move forward with making their travel plans. We'll talk about lodging, but their travel plans, and to provide us with receipts for their
Yeah.
travel.
So we're looking for places to stay for October 26th.
Yes.
Okay,
And we were gonna ask the candidates to be available on October 26th, starting at, tentatively to start at 1 o'clock, and to tentatively be available until October 27th at 12 o'clock. And we're going to get them additional details when we have them. Is that right? Okay.
okay, one more time, October 26th, what time?
I think we had asked, we thought we would ask them to be available starting at 1 o'clock tentatively, and then that they would be available on October 27th until 12 o'clock.
Okay, so we're gonna have something for them to do at 1 o'clock on the 26th?
Well, I think we're kind of gonna, once we know what we had to reach out to them, give them our times, and then they're gonna get back to us about what they're actually gonna be able to do. And
Yeah.
then Bonnie was gonna draft a schedule, because I think we talked about
Yeah.
doing a tour of the village prior to the interview, and maybe we would do lunch with one of the candidates on the 26th before the interviews, and then maybe do breakfast on the 27th with the other candidates, like they're not available. So
Okay.
we kind of have to see what their availability is going to look like. And maybe Renee is going to have more availability if she's staying in town. If she's
He might be
visiting
staying with
family.
his sister. I mean, he's got family closer. It's
Yeah.
out in Libertyville.
Yes.
All right, and okay, so I'm going to, if I can I jump in here?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to Benita about the process for new hires discussing benefits.
Mhm.
I know what we do is with the village. I'm going to talk to Martha, a game plan for staff reception and feedback plan. I'm going to talk to Anna about setting up a hybrid system if we wish to have that in the booth room.
Mhm.
I'm going to check a couple of places out on the tollway corridor about our place to stay October 26th. I'll just check prices and see if there's any advantage to us. And I'm also going to look into car rental costs, which are absolutely exorbitant right now, and also
Sure.
ground transportation, so that we can at least recommend some ideas.
Mhm.
And I think the other option around ground transportation was potentially, do we ask the staff to collect someone prior to their interview and bring them in, or if a board member would be willing to collect them at their hotel to bring them to the library for.
Yeah, I think
The
that's a better
interview.
option. I wouldn't want to expose the staff to the liability of driving people around. But I think it's reasonable. We have two of them, we just figure out transportation. I know of two gentlemen who do transportation things, and perhaps one of them, if we figured out a schedule, perhaps one of them would do that for us. They both live in Lake Forest. I mean, they do this all the time. I'm just thinking 1 o'clock on the 26th, if they both end up with a hotel and they don't have a room till 3, they're going to be staring at each other. So all of our plans for naught.
Well, they won't realize that they're both there for the same reason.
It'll take too long to figure
Or
it out.
do you want to give them a choice of 2 hotels, give
Yeah.
2 hotels to one, 2 hotels to the other?
Yeah,
There's-
I want to look for a price first. I mean,
Yeah.
if
There's a Marriott Courtyard north of us. And I think there might be another hotel north of us near like Gateway, is it called? It's like Gurney on one side of the highway and Park City on the other. I think there's a couple hotels in there.
the only problem with that is your ground transport from O'Hare is getting greater. So
Right.
let me see what I can figure out. I
Yeah.
mean, I have no idea what before we just say carte blanche, find a hotel. I'd like to know what our exposure is.
Yeah, yeah. The other thought, there's a Deerfield in There's a Marriott Courtyard in Highland Park, Deerfield area.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kathy, will you confirm with Martha that those dates for Katie would work for her? I think we had talked about it, but just to make sure, because if we're switching from the
I will
20,
talk to Martha about Katie. I lost you there.
oh, sorry, because we're switching her date, and I don't remember what the dates Martha gave us that would work for interviews.
So Martha, we're in for October 26th. And then
Or
Martha,
the,
there would be a second date.
yeah, right, October 26th, which I think was on her calendar, but
Right.
just
And
to make sure.
that date is likely the 24th or the 27th.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
For
Because
Katie.
we have to get rooms reserved too. And there could be programming and stuff.
Right,
Okay. As I said, I'm really backed up tomorrow and I've got to call this woman in the morning. So I'm going to plug all this into my Thursday calendar and I'll get back to you guys after that.
thank you. Thanks, everybody. I think that's all we can handle for tonight.
I think
All
you're
right, I
right.
move to adjourn at 10:08
Yeah,
PM.
I second.
Thank you guys for all your good
Thank
efforts and
you.
dedication. So
Thank you. All right,
Have a
everybody.
good
have a
night,
great night.
everyone.
Night.
Sleep
Night.
well.
take care.